And welcome to the Buffalo Review TV. I'm Ryan Richards. Thank you for joining us today.
And I'm Tara Hark. On today's show, how you can get involved in Buffalo Pride Week, Buffalo State students are concerned where they'll live while Tower 3 is under construction, how finals dieting can affect your grades, and a pit bull stabbing puts a man in jail. This and more on the Buffalo Review TV.
Now, from the campus of SUNY Buffalo State, news and information for Buffalo and the surrounding communities. It's the Buffalo Review TV, produced by Stripes Media.
With the snow melting and winter jackets going back into the closet, nicer weather is on its way. Buffalo State's campus is starting to look greener, and students are dressing down to embrace the warmer weather. With the unpredictable weather Buffalo is known to have, lately it has been giving us more sun and less snow.
Buffalo's cultural event of the season is approaching quickly, with Pride Week kicking off Tuesday, May 29th and running through Sunday, June 3rd. Pride Week will kick off with the flag-raising ceremony on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the Gay 5K will take place this year with a new route ending at Larkin Square. Foods, drinks, and prizes will be offered. The Dyke March on Saturday, June 2nd, will be an all-day event with a short route down Elmwood and Bidwell, ending with performances and speakers at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo. The week will commence with the annual Pride Parade and Pride Festival on Sunday, June 3rd, with over 100 organizations participating and floats and performances. The parade will start at noon at Buffalo State campus and proceed down Elmwood, stretching over 2 miles. Attendees will travel to the canal side to cap off the week with the annual Pride Festival. The festival will have several vendors offering a variety of food, drinks, and merchandise.
There will be an art and garden show taking place at the Knox Farm in East Aurora. Art on display not only inside but outside as well. This year, the guest house will be open to the public for the first time ever. The art will be provided by people from Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, and Ithaca, and some of the art will be for sale. There is also a light cafe, the terrace of the guest house for relaxing. Tickets are $5 and kids are free. All proceeds go to the restoration of the main and guest house.
With finals week around the corner, studies say students should watch what they eat. Evidence shows a direct connection to diet and academic performance. A study from the University of Newcastle compared college student diets with their academic outcome and concluded that better eating habits help students achieve better grades. The first being that students who ate breakfast consistently had better results in the classroom. Students who consistently ate at least 2 to 3 times through the day performed better than students who ate sporadically or only 1 time during the day. And students who consumed large amounts of fruit during their day did better than students who excluded it. In contrast, students who regularly consumed French fries or soda proved not only to do worse academically, but also were less likely to attend exams. Create a better diet for yourself and succeed through finals week.
The National Association for the Education of Young Children dedicated a week to celebrating early childhood education at Buffalo State College. This year, the Buffalo State Child Care Center participated in the national celebration, providing a week of campus activities, including a visit from the colleges, talented musicians, and more. Different departments stopped by and helped the children learn new skills through many activities. This week helps children be able to do well in certain activities if they have failed in the others, giving them a chance to work in their learning skills and being able to apply it outside of the child care services and with their families.
Buffalo State's athletics held their annual Benji Awards last week, celebrating outstanding team and student-athlete accomplishments from 2017-2018 seasons. Our reporter, Alex Sylvia, has more on the story.
Thanks, Tara. Recognizing individual accomplishments as well as paying homage to the 83 graduating seniors, the second annual Benji Awards was a night filled with much praise and emotion. A fresh twist on the annual Buffalo State Athletics Banquet, the Benji Awards takes after events like the ESPYs and the Oscars. This theater-style award show offers a modern appreciation for student athletes on a different stage.
And the idea for a while was, how can we include all of our student athletes and at the same time recognize more student athletes for their accomplishments? So
there was a total of 9 Benjis given out this year, including Male and Female Athlete of the Year and Most Outstanding Team. We caught up with Male Athlete of the Year and Hube Coyer Award winner Connor Mergler on what it meant to win a Benji.
It's always a great feeling. I love seeing the recognition not only by us but everyone by athletics. It's a great feeling.
Buff State student athletes have responded very well with the change to the new format, making for a very fun night.
The athletes have a lot more fun. I obviously miss having all like the food and stuff from the old one, but it's great seeing that not only just like the ones that were selected for the banquet to see it, but now all the athletes get to see it, and I think it really brings it all together.
The night ended by recognizing this year's most outstanding team, which was awarded to men's soccer. The men finished 14-3-3, but were knocked out in the first round of the NCAA tournament. The Benji Awards marks the end of another successful year for Buffalo State athletics. For the Buffalo Review, I'm Alex Sylvia.
The National Association for the Education of Young Children dedicated a week to celebrating early childhood education at Buffalo State College. This year, the Buffalo State Child Care Center participated in the national celebration, providing a week of campus activities, including a visit from the college's talented musicians and more. Different departments stopped by and helped the children learn new skills through many activities. This week helps children be able to do well in certain activities if they have failed in the others, giving them the chance to work in their learning skills and be able to apply it outside of the child care services and with their families.
Buffalo State's Mechanical Engineering Department sent 5 students to Maryland for a nationwide build-your-own Baja competition. What is a Baja, you ask? It's a small off-road car similar to a dune buggy. Competitors must build and race a single-seat car across a myriad of terrain in a 4-hour endurance race. The students began brainstorming in September. All parts for the car and fees for the competition were covered by 16 local sponsors. New things are coming to Buffalo State College. The school will be closing the residential Hall Tower 3 for the upcoming academic year 2018-2019 for renovations. The towers have not been renovated since the 1970s, making the renovation long overdue. Tower 1 and Tower 4 have been renovated in the past year and a half, and the improvements have put the housing up to date. Many are concerned with living space on campus. Closing down a tower can result in many upperclassmen losing a place to live for the academic year. Since before, the campus has had to remove seniors to create more space for upcoming students. Curtis Brickhouse assured that the opening of what was known as Bishop Hall, now a new housing unit, will balance the closing of Tower 3, and everyone will still have the opportunity for on-campus housing. 47-year-old James Craddock has pleaded guilty to a state Supreme Court to 1 count of aggravated animal cruelty. The owner of the dog, named Audie, was walking him along Mineral Springs Road the morning of September 23rd. Craddock got out of his car, exchanged words with the woman, pulled out a knife, and stabbed the 9-year-old pit bull.
An unidentified student reported robbery on Buffalo State campus Thursday, April 19 at 6:40 p.m. In Residence Hall, Cassidy, a male resident, was a victim to robbery. University Police Department put out 2 statements about the attack. Here we have Assistant Chief Amy Padlow with more on how to protect ourselves on campus.
If you live in the residence halls, make sure you practice your personal safety skills. Don't let people walk in behind you that you don't know. Most of our community knows who lives with them now. You've been here long enough that you know the other people in your building, and if you don't recognize somebody, shut the door in their face. You don't have to be polite.
Director of Residence Life declined to speak with us due to the robbery still being under investigation.
Honestly, I'm a little alarmed because I don't know what's gonna happen, how did they even get into the building, who's opening the doors for them, stuff like this, it scares me. So honestly, I'm not so comfortable living there.
I'm a resident in Cassidy Hall, and I have practice in the nighttime, so coming home is very scary to me. I don't feel safe at home, not at home.
The 2 attackers was described 2 black males wearing black hoodies. One of the suspects was arrested on Friday, April 20th from the University of Police.
Your safety is the utmost importance, so make sure you get to a safe place. Make the phone call to call University Police, call 911 if you're off campus, but make sure that you're in a safe area to do so. Don't try and go after the perpetrators. Don't put yourself in harm's way any more than, maintain your safety.
Always be observant of your surroundings. UPD is available to your needs 24/7. This is Tiffany Channer from the Buffalo Review TV.
On Thursday, April 26th, the Buffalo Bills drafted quarterback Josh Allen at 7th overall, who is expected to be our new franchise quarterback. The Bills had 2 first-round picks and made their second choice for Tremaine Edwards with the 16th overall pick.
At the NHL draft lottery, Buffalo were selected for #1 overall pick. The Sabres had an 18.5 chance of winning. The expected #1 pick is a generational talent named Rasmus Dahlin, and is exactly what Buffalo needs. Up next, an interview on a Buffalo State professor who has worked for SUNY for 25 years and a compelling story of how people of old age can't take medicine that will allow them to pass away peacefully.
You're watching the Buffalo Review TV, produced by Stripes Media. You can find out more about our show at our website, buffaloreview.wordpress.com, and we welcome your feedback. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, you can email us at thebuffaloreview@gmail.com.
Groups of people traveled to Albany Monday to advocate for and against the Medical Aid in Dying Act. The act would allow people with a terminal illness expected to live less than 6 months to end their own life with special medication if they choose. We are joined by Dr. Christopher Battaglia from the Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center, whose areas of expertise include critical care and palliative care. To get back to what I first talked about with the people going to Albany, as a doctor, do you feel the patient should be given this choice to make?
Well, of course, it's, as you know, a very controversial topic. There are a great deal of ethical, moral, and legal implications for this. In fact, as of this moment, only 7 states in the United States have legalized a physician-assisted death, New York State not being one of them. But that being said, I think when a physician receives this kind of request, I think before anything is done or acted upon, it's important to first recognize the gravity and the seriousness of this request. This is a request that's coming from somebody who is suffering, and that suffering may be physical, it may be spiritual, it may be emotional. So I think it's very important to really give this request the attention it deserves and to fully evaluate and explore that particular person's suffering, because there may be other things that can be done to optimize that person's symptoms and improve their quality of life before simply going forward and making a final decision like that. Because although physician-assisted death is one solution, after that there are no other solutions. So I think it's very important to take the time to give that request the attention it deserves.
Just a sidebar from what we're actually here to talk about, I just want to get into you first. What drove you to be a part of the Roswell Park Center in the first place?
Well, first of all, I was born and raised in the Buffalo area. And so part of my motivation was I just wanted to come home and be closer to family. But in going into critical care and with background in palliative care, I wanted to practice in a place where I would have opportunities to really fully utilize both of those skill sets. Cancer patients are a unique population. I mean, they face tremendous challenges every day, not only related to their disease, but also related to the intense treatments like chemotherapy, radiation, and aggressive surgery that they have to face. I feel that a physician caring for a cancer patient in the ICU who is now critically ill needs to be able to have both sides of the conversation. So on one hand, they require very expert, aggressive care because they are more vulnerable patients who are more likely to get sicker than an average person. But also, the physician needs to be able to know when to change the conversation when it's getting to the point where things are potentially becoming futile.
Well, now to get into your profession or one of your interests, how does one find themselves needing palliative care?
So patients with serious illness or advanced illness, they require expert pain and symptom management. They need help and guidance with determining their goals of care and making difficult medical decisions. They need increased psychosocial support, and they need to develop warm therapeutic relationships with their physicians. Palliative care addresses all these things with the #1 goal of maximizing the quality of life for a patient with severe illness.
Well, let's get just a little bit deeper where, could you tell me about a time in your practice where things probably didn't turn out the way you would, or it went something different for what you thought it would go?
Too many to name. Patients always can surprise me. Some patients come in and do better than I expected. There have been patients where I really thought they were not going to do well, and lo and behold, they surprised us and they actually pulled through and did well. Other patients have gone in for procedures and have come out and done worse than we thought. I think that the most important thing to think about in those situations is that no matter what the outcome is, there can always be hope. It's just that hope may need to be reframed depending on the actual circumstances. So when a patient comes in and expecting cure, if cure no longer becomes possible, then we can still hope for survival, longevity, and quality of life. When no more treatments are available to promote survival, then the person can still hope to be comfortable, to have their symptoms well managed, so that they're not debilitated from them. And when the person reaches the final stages, the hope can still persist, but hope can persist in the form of hoping to be remembered well, hoping to die comfortably and with some dignity.
I just want to touch on the longevity part where you say your job is to also, if it is said that they cannot live longer than a certain amount of days or months, whatever it may be, I just want to be in a general sense, what is your top priority when assigned to a terminally ill patient?
Well, when I'm seeing a patient with a terminal illness, first thing I want to know is there anything bothering them right now that I can help them with? If that patient is in pain, we need to deal with that first. If that patient is having some other concern or suffering, that needs to be addressed before we do anything. The number one priority, I think, is trying to determine what the goals of care are going to be. When I say goals of care, I mean what a patient hopes to achieve or gain from receiving medical therapies. For example, some patients want to focus on aggressive therapies with the goal of care being extending life and prolonging survival. Other patients may want to focus all of their efforts primarily on comfort and symptom management rather than promoting longevity. Before you can enter those conversations, the other priority that needs to go along with that is determining who's the decision maker. For many patients, it's the patients themselves, but some patients may not have the capacity to make those kind of decisions, and so then the priority becomes determining who is going to be the decision maker. Is it a healthcare proxy who is appointed by the patient? Is it another family member or other surrogate decision maker that is going to be acting and speaking on the patient's behalf? So I think determining goals of care is number one, and determining who the decision maker is. Those are probably the two top priorities in treating a terminally ill patient.
Well, with all the patients you probably have or had in the past, I just want one final question. What possible life lessons has this job taught you since you've been in it?
A great deal. I can say that there have probably been a couple that have stood out in particular. I've learned that when dealing with seriously ill patients, it's far more important to listen than it is to speak. I've learned that doing more to a person may not be the same as doing more for that person. And I've also learned that no matter how challenging or difficult my job as a physician can be, the challenges and difficulties faced by my patients is always far greater.
Well, this one more last question. Of course, people need to know if they want to be a part of this, how do they get in and how much would it cost them? In paying for the care, how do you think, what is the best way for the family to be able to pay for it?
Well, like any other medical specialty, palliative care is generally covered by most, or if not in full, at least in part by most health insurances, including Medicare and Medicaid. So it's the same thing as consulting a cardiologist or any other kind of medical specialty.
All right. Well, that is all we have for today. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Christopher Battaglia, in discussing a topic raising concerns for today's society. I am Ryan Richards from the Buffalo Review TV.
You're watching the Buffalo Review TV, produced by Stripes Media. You can find out more about our show at our website, buffaloreview.wordpress.com, and we welcome your feedback. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, you can email us at thebuffaloreview@gmail.com.
Last month, 21 faculty and staff members were honored for 25 years of service to SUNY, which made us here at the Buffalo Review TV curious about the changes Buffalo State has seen in the last 25 years. I have here with me Tom Kohler, one of the faculty members recognized during the ceremony. As a graduate of 1980, Buffalo State, Kohler began his career for SUNY at the University of Buffalo. He then came to Buffalo State in 2001 as Assistant Athletics Director for External Affairs. And in 2010, he was promoted to Senior Associate Athletics Director, the position he holds currently. Kohler meets us today to discuss some of the changes he's seen over the last quarter of a century here at the college.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for coming. So, 25 years with SUNY.
Yeah.
What does this recognition mean to you?
It means I'm old. That's what it means.
Nice.
And I hung around for them to have a lunch for me. You know, honestly, it's been a great ride. I started in journalism through this beautiful institution, did some newspaper work, and then got into the PR end of things. And that kind of catapulted me to UB, where I was a public relations type person in the athletics department, got to touch a lot of different areas, and then came over here as the Associate Athletics Director. So it's been a wonderful over 30 years, believe it or not, and as my wife reminds me, I have a lot of gray hairs now. But it's been absolutely fantastic, and I'm a big believer in SUNY. I'm a big believer in Buffalo State.
Nice. Did you ever see yourself when you graduated in a position with SUNY, in this position that you're in now?
Absolutely not. I was looking to be a journalist, a newspaper man for life, and I loved it for about a year and a half. But then I kind of realized I wasn't going to make a lot of money in it, and then sooner or later I was going to have a family with children, and I decided the right opportunities came up for me to go into public relations. So I utilized those writing skills and public relations skills and camera skills and went to work in Albany. And then one thing led to another. Another opening came up at UB. I was able to come back home to Buffalo, and all of a sudden I ended up at Buffalo State, and here I am.
Here you are. So 21 people were awarded for 25 years of service. And I was told that the lists are this long every year for
Sure.
how, you know, all these people staying with SUNY. So that says a lot about SUNY.
Well, I think it does. I think the state and the system treats employees well. We have mobility. We have opportunity to look at other positions. We collaborate on campus with our colleagues, which I think is very important. I get to know what's going on in the education department, and every now and then they get to know what's going on in athletics. So there's not a lot of silos built, and I think that helps. I think that's healthy for the workforce to be able to see what other people are doing in that particular workforce and understand that there's just more than your office. This is a big planet, as they say, and I think SUNY offers that opportunity, whether it's at UB or Buffalo State or any other SUNY school.
Nice. So for you, what are some of the most rewarding parts of working in higher education?
Well, one of them is right now, speaking with you, and you giggle, and rightfully so, but I truly believe one of our main functions, whether you're an administrator or a basketball coach or a football coach, is impacting students, and impacting students every day. I was impacted when I was 18, 19, and 20 in the journalism school here at Buffalo State by a gentleman named Bud Wacker, who was the old city editor at the Buffalo News. And I'll never forget what he did. Literally took me in and ripped up my stories and told me that headline's horrible, but you learn. Yeah. And when you called and said, would you like to do an interview? And I said, for BSC TV, absolutely, I'll be there. And I think it's important that we give back and to impact students, to impact student athletes. I'm around 400 student athletes on a weekly basis, and I'm able to at least talk to them, impart some of the wisdom I have after 60 years of being on this earth, and I can go home, and then every day's new. You know, I come to work, and I could be on this committee, I could be on that committee, it could be a different issue, I could be talking to you, Tara. So it's all good, and it's very refreshing. It keeps you fresh every day.
That's great. So you also received your bachelor's degree from here.
I did.
In 1980.
At least they told me I did. I'm assuming I did.
We'll fact check later.
You better.
So you've been a part of this college's dynamic for a lot longer than 25 years. Yeah. Not too much longer.
That's right.
So could you tell me a little bit about the change in the culture since the late 70s?
Well, I think college cultures, generally speaking, remain the same. You have youth who have energy and exuberance and passion, and they want to change the world, which is great. I don't think that ever changes. The campus itself, the students here are the same as when I was going to school. The only problem is you don't have a pub. We used to have a pub when drinking age was 18. Now it's a lot older, and they got rid of the pub. But some of the changes on this campus have been just extraordinary, and especially with technology. When we registered many, many, many years ago, let me add a couple more manys onto that. It's been that long. We had computer punch cards, and you went to Houston Gym to give a punch card for a class. Let's say you wanted this class. You had a punch card for this class. And they would look through their other punch cards to see if they had one. And if they had one, then you were in the class. And if they didn't, you weren't in the class. But it took you, the line to get into registration went from, let's say, Houston Gym on one side of campus all the way back to the library. And we waited and waited and waited. Now it's just boom, 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 boom. We go on, right, and we register. So that is absolutely amazing. And I think the infrastructure, you know, the constant upgrade of buildings, the new tech building. Where the tech building was, I used to park there when I was an undergraduate. In fact, the classroom building I don't believe was there either. So I parked all the way up because I liked 8 o'clock classes. So you have the technology building, the science building, all the renovations, renovation to Houston Gym. Yeah. You used to have an athletic bubble behind Houston Gym because there were so many students coming to Buffalo State, we didn't know where to put them for phys ed classes. So there used to be a bubble that had courts inside of them for recreation. So in that sense, the infrastructure of Buffalo State continues to expand and be renovated.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So in your 25 years here, or more, what achievements are you most proud of?
Well, you caught me off guard on that one. I think the, well, goodness, I think the Chancellor's Award for service to the college a few years ago was quite a surprise. Again, it means you're old and you've worked here for a while. But I also think it represents, if I could brag a little bit, the ability to go out into the campus community and collaborate with my colleagues. And I don't just sit back in the athletics department and do athletic things. And so I'll MC a gala, I'll chair homecoming for 15 years. I'll do things that aren't athletically related. And really, it's truly to give back and to meet more people, to meet the diverse population we have here at Buffalo State, for me to learn from you, from the diverse population. And so that award kind of culminated everything I wanted to do as a professional, and all they did was they recognized me for it. So I think that was probably the biggest accomplishment.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful accomplishment.
Not bad at all.
So last questions. What are some of the biggest difficulties that you've faced in your career here?
Biggest difficulties that I faced? If I was to be honest, it would be to understand diversity as I understand it now. And to understand my answer to that is to know that I grew up middle class, lower middle class, Tonawanda, very white community. And not until I went to UB and then Buffalo State did I understand what diversity is and the power of diversity. And that I had to learn that. And it wasn't an issue per se, but it was opening your mind and understanding that everybody's from different parts of this planet, and they all come together. They all have great talents, great personalities, and if you allow that to be part of you, you'll grow as a person. So it wasn't so much an issue; it was just a learning moments that I needed to do over 15 to 20 years.
Nice. So that's all the time that we have for today.
Really?
Hopefully I'll interview you again in your 50 years of service to SUNY.
You better not be here still.
I'll come back just for that.
There you go.
This is Tara Hark with the Buffalo Review TV.
Buffalo Review TV, produced by Stripes Media. You can find out more about our show at our website, buffaloreview.wordpress.com, and we welcome your feedback. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, you can email us at thebuffaloreview@gmail.com.